Hi, my name is Magdalena, and a few videos ago I had mentioned how I wanted to do a series looking at the specific tones of my eyeshadows and comparing them to one another. I've decided to start with my greens. Now, this isn't every green in my collection, this is more my wearable greens, my kind of grungier greens. So if you would like to see some comparisons of those shadows, stay tuned. So the first row I'm going to do is the Clionadh shadows here. So for the first set of swatches I have here, we have Mural and Royal Pear. Now Mural is the classic shadow from Clionadh that has a red, orange to yellow and green shift with kind of a cooler green base. And Royal Pear has more of a grass green base and shifts from a pink into like a peach and then gold and green. Both very pretty shadows and surprisingly wearable for being very bright. Next we have Estate and Fool's Gold. Now Fool's Gold is from the Deep Sea Treasures collection and is not available as a single, at least as of yet. I don't know if they have any plans to release it later. So Estate has a brownish base and so does Fool's Gold, although I think it's a little bit more sheer. Estate has more of a green gold forward shift and then shifts into that more green gold and kind of a like turquoise, whereas Fool's Gold has more of like a true like green shift and then shifts all the way into that turquoise and blue and a little bit of a purple at the hardest edge. Next up we have three shadows from the Earth Vibrant line. This is Iron Gate, Wall of Ivy, and Hedge Maze. All of the Earth Vibrant shadows have more of a kind of grungy base and more less intense flips to them, but they are still quite vibrant, even though they are, a little bit more grungy and more neutral. So you can see that Iron Gate has this almost kind of like mauvey gray base, and then Wall of Ivy has a brown base, and Hedge Maze has like a hard to describe that base, like a blackish bluey green base. And then Iron Gate has a gold, like true gold into like a green gold into the turquoise and blue shift, and Wall of Ivy has a green into a blue and then into a indigo and purple, and Hedge Maze has that kind of like greeny gold into the green, turquoise, blue, indigo shifts. Lastly, from Clionadh, we have Kelp Forest from the Deep Sea Treasures palette and Carving. So these are quite different. Carving has that very light brown base and a more sheer consistency, and Kelp Forest is not a black base, but like a dark brown base. And Kelp Forest has more of a metallic shimmer formula. So Kelp Forest goes from a green into like a bluey green into a turquoise, blue, and purple. And then Carving actually has a very similar shift to it. It just looks quite different with a different base. But it goes more from that like true green, true bluey green into the turquoise and then into the blue. And it really shows the purple flip. Next up, I'm going to be doing Lethal Cosmetics shadows. So here we have Mycelium, Volant, Biome, and Retrograde from Lethal. So the top three shades all have a pretty similar base to them. Only Retrograde has a more sheer base to it. Mycelium has a like greeny gold into more of a turquoise shift. Volant has a green into a like magenta shift. Biome has like a kind of turquoise shift that goes into like an indigo, and then Retrograde has a green shift that goes into a very vibrant like pinkish shift, pinky purple shift. The next row are my Shine by SD shadows. These next three shadows are Everest, Distance, and Fallback. It's important to note that Fallback is not sold as a multi-chrome. It is sold as a duochrome and therefore has a lower price tag on it. The top two here are black-based Multichromes, and then Fallback has more of a kind of like brownish base. Everest has a pink into peach, into green, into blue shift. Distance has a gold into green, into blue, into indigo shift. And then Fallback has a very vibrant green into kind of more like a gold green into that bright like pinky magenta color. Next we have Starbright and Paradise. So these both have a very similar base but different shifts. Starbright has a like true green into a turquoise and blue and indigo shift, and then Paradise has like a yellow gold, gold, green turquoise shift. Lastly, from Shine by SD and the Seeking Shifts Earthborn collab, we have Fauna and Verdigris. So these are obviously two very different shadows. Fauna has a brown base and then shifts from that kind of gold into green, turquoise, and then blue, whereas Verdigris has kind of like a sage green base, and then shifts from that icy pink to like the peachy pink, into the green, and maybe some turquoise in there too. And this final row here are Looksy Cosmetic shadows. Here we have Peacock and Saltwater Taffy. These look quite similar, but they do have some differences. So in the base, Peacock is a little bit more light and warmer, and Saltwater Taffy is a little bit more reddish and deeper. For the shifts, they might be exactly the same, honestly. They're pretty close. I feel like I see a little bit more turquoise in this one, but that might be more about the base. So yeah, I think these two are actually exactly the same shifts, but with a different base. Okay, home stretch here. We have Jeepers Creepers, Abracadabra, and First Class. So the first thing to note is that First Class is not as sparkly as the other ones. So Jeepers Creepers has a darker base, a dark brown base, and then Abracadabra has more of like a sheer brown base. Still got some depth to it, but more sheer than Jeepers Creepers. And First Class has like a very soft brown base. It's almost kind of pinky in certain lights. For the shifts, Jeepers Creepers is like a strong green that goes into like a indigo and then into a blue, and it does do like a purple, but I don't know if my light is really capturing it for whatever reason. Abracadabra has like a turquoise base, or a turquoise shift, and then shifts into a kind of a green and then into a more of a strong blue. And First Class shifts from that green into like a indigo blue color. Abracadabra also has little flecks of like a turquoise blue throughout it as well. Okay, time for some comparisons between the brands. So here are all of the shadows swatched out. So this is Retrograde, Biome, Volant, Mycelium. This is Carving, Kelp Forest, Hedge Maze, Wall of Ivy, Iron Gate, Fool's Gold, Estate. This is Mural. Over here is Royal Pear. Up here is Looksy First Class, Abracadabra, Jeepers Creepers, Saltwater Taffy, Peacock, Shine by SD, Verdigris, Fauna, Starbright, Moonlight, and Fallback. I did not swatch the two jeweled multichromes. I was running out of room. So here's a little comparison you can see. And then I will swatch a couple just out as well for you to see them better. So here is Royal Pear and here is Verdigris. These both have that green base and that pink shift, but as you can see, it's a different pink, a very different green base, And Verdigris is certainly much more sparkly and high impact. Here we have Cleona Estate, Lethal Mycelium, Shine by St. Paradise, and Luxie Peacock and Saltwater Taffy. So these all have a very golden green to them. Most of them have that dark brown base, with the exception of Paradise, which has that very sheer base. And then they all shift from some kind of gold, green gold, into the turquoise, and then a little bit of indigo and purple for some of them too. Finally, we have Cleona Carving, Lethal Biome, Luxie Abracadabra, Shine by SD Paradise, and Luxie First Class. So all of these have that brown base, with the bottom two having a much more sheer brown base, and the top three having the most intense bases. They all shift slightly differently, but they do all have that kind of green shift. A little bit more turquoise in Biome here, and then the turquoise specks of sparkle in Abracadabra, but they are all quite similar in their shifts. Okay, so that's the end of it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you were able to see, whether maybe you didn't need some shadows that might have been on your wish list, or maybe found some new ones that you might want to add to your wish list. Thank you for swatching and have a good day. Bye!